Alrighty, folks. So I watched the new Superman, and I have many, many thoughts. Now, I went with my wife. My wife and I always have an interesting time watching movies together because when I go, I'm very analytical about what I think of the movie. My wife sort of gets an overall gestalt, and it's mostly like, that was fun. And so my wife's review was, that was fun.
Oh boy, if you're the analytical one, I don't even want to know about your wife. I'm joking. She's what we call a normal person.
David Cornsweet is charming. He has good physical presence. I didn't mind him as Superman at all. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane was fine. I thought she was great. I thought both of them had good chemistry. I thought all of that was fine. And then there is the analysis.
To give him credit, he at least said something positive about the movie, something he appreciated. It's not just him hating it for no reason. He does have aspects that he likes.
So, my overall review of Superman. Superman is super meh. It's meh. Okay, so all the people who are getting super exercised over the politics, and we'll get to the politics a little bit later on. I think that they are overestimating how much politics is in this. I think they're deliberately misinterpreting some of the politics that are in there. This is not a movie about illegal immigration. It's not a movie about ICE, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, the Palestinians. There may be references there if you have politics on the brain, but other than that, I really don't think that there's that much of this there.
While I agree that people are seeing whatever politics they want to see in this movie, and it probably is not based on any conflict, really. It's just people who want their beliefs to be affirmed by popular media. I would say that the Superman story itself, is a story of immigration to some extent. It almost can't not be. It's impossible to have Superman without him being literally an immigrant from another planet, adopted into America.
That is not my overall problem with the movie. My overall problem with the movie is that you are taking the most iconic American IP of all time, Superman, which is to be treated with a certain level of respect. That doesn't mean it has to be, grand mythology the way that Zack Snyder wants to do. Like, my standard for Superman is not Man of Steel. My standard for Superman movies is 1978 Richard Donner, the best version of Superman. It just is. Overall, here is my problem. James Gunn is the wrong director, writer, creator for this thing.
I saw Chewbacca on the cover of People magazine. I was like, oh my God.
He's just wrong for it. It's Guardians of the Galaxy with Superman in it. And so that means it's all kind of a mess. It's an overstuffed movie in every way. It's visually overstuffed. In terms of plot, the plot holes are big enough to drive a truck through them. There are character problems. And all of it is just kind of wrapped around this gauzy, fast-paced, jokey tone that doesn't mesh with Superman as central part of Americana, to me. James Gunn's sensibility is always to be subversive. That is what he does. He does subversive in Guardians of the Galaxy, right? He takes a comic book movie and he turns it into sort of a potty-mouthed sitcom.
Don't drink fountain water, you idiot. That's disgusting.
And he does the same thing with Suicide Squad. He takes that same sensibility, and now he's doing that with Superman.
Superman robots, I thought I told you to keep an eye on him.
We feed the canine, but he is unruly. And he realizes we are not flesh and blood and couldn't, in our heart of hearts, care less whether he lives or dies.
And I get that after the interpretation of the Snyderverse is over serious, he's reversing himself into completely the opposite direction. But what that means is that he's constantly subverting everything.
I was raised with a dog that was my sister.
I really don't understand what you mean by subverses everything. A lot of the stuff from this movie is just stuff from the comics. Now, I'm aware that Ben Shapiro doesn't read comics. He just saw the Superman movie from like the 70s when he was a kid. And then he saw the Snyderverse movies, which he likes for whatever reason. He also likes The Rise of Skywalker the most out of the new Star Wars movies, which is an insane opinion to me, but whatever. That one is probably the worst Star Wars movie of all time. Only episode 2 gives it some competition. But anyway, he doesn't know comic book Superman, so he doesn't actually know if this is accurate or not. He just has a feeling about it based on a movie he watched when he was a kid that came out like 50, 60 years ago.
The very beginning of the movie, you are told that Superman is the most powerful metahuman, right? There's like a placard that says 30 years ago, the metahumans arrived. 3 years ago, Superman emerged. 3 weeks ago, there was an invasion. And now 3 minutes ago, Superman's ass got kicked.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
He's not very super. He is not the Man of Steel. He is not invulnerable. He gets his ass kicked routinely. He gets locked up in a prison with a character who's making kryptonite out of his hands.
Sorry, what?
He's constantly in victim mode. Like Green Lantern has much more success in this movie. Mr. Terrific has much more success in this movie than Superman.
First of all, the fact that the screen, whoever edited this is like, who? When they showed Mr. Terrific, just shows that these people don't know comics. Like, he thought he got us with that one, guys. Who is Mr. Terrific? He's a character from the comics. He's a character from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Just because you don't know a character doesn't mean, like, it's like, what? Who is this? I don't know. Make some fucking research, Ben. You're a fucking supposed politician adjacent commentator. I don't fucking know. That really pissed me off. Being ignorant is not, like, a virtue. Bitch. I don't know why I'm being so aggressive about it, but it just pissed me off. So, the core argument of what he just said is not that. It's the fact that he thinks Superman should be invulnerable, which he shouldn't. The best Superman, in my opinion, is the DC Animated Universe Superman. And he gets his ass beat all the time. And then he beats people's asses all the time. It's a give and take, because there are characters like Darkseid, like Brainiac, like Lex Luthor when he's superpowered, like Bizarro, like Lobo, that can match him physically. And that's okay. Superman doesn't have to be invincible. That's kind of one of the criticism people have about him, because they don't read comics, because they don't watch his TV shows, they don't watch his movies. Superman shouldn't always be invincible. And even then, physicality doesn't really have anything to do with how good of a character he is. Superman is not engaging because he punches really hard, though those moments are cool as hell too. He's engaging because of the emotional and ideological stakes that come with being that strong. Also, and this is perhaps the funniest part, did you even like register anything of what you just said? Superman has been around for 3 years. And 3 minutes ago, as of the movie, is the first time he lost. And he lost against a clone of himself. So Superman hasn't been losing for 3 years except against himself, and you think that's somehow weak? No. That just tells you that this guy he's fighting right now is so strong because it's revealed to be a clone of himself. Also, he obviously doesn't know about Metamorpho, aka Elemental Man, which is very sad because Elemental Girl, the woman equivalent of him, has one of the best comic book issues of all time in Sandman called Facade. And I don't know, I just want to mention that because I really love that issue. But also, he doesn't know comic books. Like I said, for people who don't know and have not even paid attention to the movie, Metamorpho is a character that, depending on the interpretation of the character, maybe it's some ancient Egyptian thing, whatever. Point being, he can turn himself or part of his body in different elements. That's where Elemental Man comes from. And one of them is kryptonite, which is used by Lex to weaken Superman, which makes sense. Are we now complaining that Superman is weak to kryptonite? Like, his one weakness? Are we complaining that he's weak to his own weakness? What are we talking about?
Superman's parents from Krypton, if you're going to go through the mythology, send him to Earth so that he can be a moral guide for people on Earth using his great powers to stop evil from happening to them. In this movie, his parents from Krypton send him there. This is the big revelation of the movie. His parents send him there to dominate the life on Earth as an alien invasion, essentially, and to create a harem of Earth women to have his many babies.
Well, sign me up.
So immediately you're taking the expectation of what you know about his Krypton parents and flipping it on its head. His parents, Ma and Pa Kent, in the original, they are noble and they are wise. They're kind of salt of the earth. Here, they're basically kind of, I don't know, like down home types who don't seem to, they live in a kind of a crappy house. They're the kind of people who call the TV the box. They're the kind of folks who are sitting around and you know, kind of scratching their butts. They're purposely cast as ugly and non-noble.
Superman's Kryptonian parents being actually bad, and him having to realize that his real parents are the ones that raised him, is actually a good plot twist that I will defend with my life. I hate, and I do mean hate, when the stories about Superman enhance the Krypton parts of his life or his character, because that's not who Superman is. Superman is an American. Superman is a human. And Superman is the son of the Kents. To me, those are the three attributes of Superman, in order being son of the Kents, a human, even though he is physically an alien, and an American. Those are like the three things about him. Those are like the top three things about him. What he represents, or should represent. The best of children, the best of humanity, and the best of America. And I'm not American, so I don't have a feeling of patriotism towards him. It's just what his character should be. He shouldn't be whatever America is right now and should support it unconditionally. No, he is the best of America. So whatever he is, America should follow. Not whatever America is, he should follow. But we're going to get later into that. The second thing he said is that he just hates the Kents for being honest, average, Southern people. Just being some average people, which they should be. They shouldn't be these like high class, whatever, aristocrats or whatever his imagination is. Those are just some old boomers from Kansas that grew up on a farm and raised Superman on a farm. That's exactly how they should be. And insulting the actors, calling them ugly, is just disrespectful for absolutely no reason, and is not a real criticism. You're just weird and petty.
The super dog is a terrible dog, is a dog that does not, like an idiot dog. Like way worse than my dog Happy. My dog Happy, way better than this dog, and my dog makes trouble. This dog is a mess. Supergirl, who you get introduced to for a hot second at the very end, Supergirl is a drunken teenage brat. Right, like anything that you think you know about the Superman universe, James Gunn is determined to debunk in the first half hour of the film. I think that it's a betrayal of the original IP, and mildly.
Okay, he says it's a betrayal of the original IP, but again, he doesn't read comics, so how does he even know that? He doesn't. He just says stuff. While Krypto isn't really comic book accurate, well, there's some comics where he's going goblin mode, but most of the time, he's just a sweet little dog that happens to have superpowers, basically. And I love him. He's cute and awesome. In this movie, there is world building or character motivation or character justification for him being this way. It's that he wasn't raised with Clark on Earth. He was actually raised with Kara on Krypton. So to him, this just feels normal. He doesn't know how to control his strength. And because we see Supergirl's character, Krypto's characterization makes way more sense because his owner is not this calm, suave, friendly, very happy-go-lucky guy. It's a teenager, essentially. It's a edgy teen, not even an edgy, it's just like a rebellious teenager, which Kara is most of the time. Some comics present her as being somewhat alien to Earth and trying to fit in and not understanding Earth customs, but most of the time she's just very rebellious. This is true in Superman the Animated Series as well, where I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, cover your ears for like 10 seconds. Eventually, she just goes into the future to be her own person, her own hero, and to fuck Brainiac's grandson. So, if you think this one is crazy, remember what she did in Justice League Unlimited. It's what I'm gonna say. Also, my assumption will be that the reason she's like this is because, unlike Clark, she was actually grown enough to remember everybody on Krypton, and it being destroyed actually messed her up. So this is just the way she copes, just by drinking and having parties and whatever. And we'll probably see in her own movie that she's going to have a character arc which ends with her being more like the Supergirl we know, which I think is fine.
But you don't know the motivations of any of the villains except for Lex, who it turns out is just really kind of jealous of Superman because Superman has superpowers. And Lex is like, I'm really smart and Superman is really strong. So why do people like Superman more than they like me? Which is a pretty boring motivation, to be frank. So the characters are complete pastiches. They're just cardboard cutouts.
Well, first of all, the villains of the story are mostly henchmen. So outside of Lex, no one needs to have a more complex motivation or backstory or anything, right? Like, the whole plot revolves around Lex and Superman. They are the two main characters. They should be the most developed, interesting. They should interact and have a character dynamic that's interesting. Everyone else, except of maybe Lois, who's like the third most important character, should be incidental, or not incidental, but should be side characters as they are, and should not be as important. Not every antagonist, every henchman needs their own backstory or whatever. And speaking of Lex, that is his character. That is Lex Luthor of the comics and of the DC animated universe, which is the Lex that a lot of people know. His whole thing is that he hates Superman because he views Superman as everything humanity isn't. And a news alert, he is a human.
In a world without Superman, the unattainable Lois Lane might have noticed good old Clark pining away in the corner.
You keep talking about me, but I'm here to interview you.
I'm just saying, a strapping farm boy with brains, integrity, no discernible style of his own. You're a prize catch for a cynical city girl.
Why haven't you filed an appeal?
But with him around, you're a parody of a man. A dullard, a cripple. Next to Superman, even Lex Luthor's greatness is overshadowed.
Are you trying to intimidate me?
I'm trying to educate you. We all fall short of his sickening, inhuman perfection. Feel that, Kent. Real muscle. Not the gift of alien biochemistry, the product of hard work.
Lex is a human, and no matter how intelligent, how smart, how hardworking, no matter what he does, he will never be like Superman. Because Superman is just super powerful. He's invincible. He's able to fly. It doesn't matter what Lex could do. But he doesn't see that the reality of the situation is that the reason Superman is better than him is not because of those abilities, but it's because he's a better person than Lex. Lex is just a bad person, and he doesn't see that because all he sees is his inferiority complex, which is why he also has a superiority complex, because superiority complexes come from inferiority complexes, as I said on my channel on multiple occasions with multiple characters. That's been his motivation since like post-Crisis, and has been his motivation in most interpretations of the character since then. You're the one who doesn't understand this character and doesn't even understand the complexity between him and Superman and how actually cool he is of a villain.
Together, and they're having a talk, and it's supposed to be this very intimate talk where they're speaking with each other, and literally outside the window, Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific and Hawk Girl are fighting a gigantic sort of eye monster that looks like it's from Suicide Squad.
Stop it right there, Joker.
You never get me,
It's extremely distracting because he's James Gunn and everything has to be some sort of dumb joke. You're like, well, shouldn't Superman be doing something about it? No, let them handle it.
The whole point of that scene is that Superman doesn't want to interfere because the Justice Gang has it, meaning that they are good enough and strong enough to deal with it, and he knows about it. And that right now the public hates him. So him going around and doing stuff and fighting monsters or associating himself with the Justice Gang would just be bad PR for himself and for them. So they don't want his help. He wants to help, but he knows they're got it, so he doesn't want to complicate things. He even... Why am I explaining this? Like, everybody doesn't understand this scene is like just stupid. I hate you all.
In any case, it turns out that what he really wants is to annex half of this separate country. He's going to split it with this other dictator. One major plot hole. Lex Luthor is obviously the smartest person in the film. So smart, he can create his own universes. This is a major plot point. And he is concerned about a relatively small piece of land occupied by third worlders. This is his big plan.
As you will explain following this interruption of mine.
And later it turns out that he said, oh, no, I started that war just so that I could get people to turn against Superman. Okay, well, he does that halfway through the film. And then he jails him, and then he leaves him alive and explains this secondary plan that apparently was his primary plan, sort of. But he doesn't kill Superman at the time for a reason that remains undisclosed.
He doesn't want to annex the country, actually. He doesn't want to jail Superman so he can annex the country. He plans this conflict in order to catch Superman. He created the conflict in the first place so that Superman can interfere in it, and then he can blame and turn the public on Superman for interfering in those affairs and have the clearance to actually arrest him and take him in custody. And the reason he doesn't kill him is explained in the movie. It's because the US government doesn't want to kill him. Because he is capturing him technically for the US government. He's working with the US government. He even says, if the US government didn't want me to keep you alive for texting or interrogating, or it was one of the two, I would kill you. So, like, the movie explains it. I don't know how you missed that part.
Because James Gunn doesn't care about plot. James Gunn doesn't care about characters. James Gunn cares about jokes and aesthetics. That's what James Gunn cares about.
Nobody cares anymore.
While James Gunn is great at jokes, he is great at aesthetics, and he's pretty good at plots, he absolutely is great on characters. Are you freaking kidding me? Guardian of the Galaxy are probably the most well-rounded and well-written and have the most chemistry out of any group in the MCU. And he was able to do that in 3 movies without each one of them having their individual movie. Because think about it, the Avengers each have 1 or 2 or 3 movies about each, and then they have the Avengers movies where they all come together. But the Guardians only have their 3 movies, and then they're in Infinity War. And that's about it. And they're still the most cohesive, most interesting, most funny, most developed team out of all of them. Don't say he doesn't care about characters. You just don't like the way he writes characters, which is okay, but he does know how to do it.
The visuals are, when I say a mess, I mean that the visuals are CGI vomit, like complete CGI vomit. So James Gunn has an addiction to kind of gross and weird imagery, which doesn't really fit in the context of the, again, Americana that is Superman. And so there's some really gross and weird images, particularly in the Pocket universe, where you have characters who are turning themselves into weird tentacly octopuses, and you have people's eyes being attacked.
Superman fights, again, in the comics and in cartoons, weird aliens, like all the time. Like, he fights aliens all the time, and they a lot of the time look weird. Starro is one of them. I mean, you wouldn't know that. But you know Starro, the guy from the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn directed? That guy is actually like a Justice League villain. And Superman fought him on multiple occasions. Actually, he's the first guy that Justice League fights. I'm pretty sure he's on the cover of the first Justice League issue. And I don't know, I liked the visuals. I thought they were awesome. I thought they were bright. I thought they were goofy and fun and funny. So I guess we just agree to disagree. I don't think understand Superman at all. You just have a feeling about him. And facts don't care about the feelings, Ben.
You have multiple scenes of giant heavy objects falling on Superman and Superman stopping the giant heavy objects from falling to save an individual. Again, another plot hole. You'll have giant building. The entire building will fall, and he will stop the building from falling to save one person or a chipmunk who is in the way. But it's an entire building full of people, so presumably all those people are dead.
So the thing he explains here only happened once, and it was at the end of the movie where there was this woman in a car. He even shows the image. She is about to get squashed by a building falling, and Superman catches the building, and it doesn't kill her. So I don't know if he paid attention, but the city was evacuating. That's why she was there, because they were evacuating. Now, it's possible that there might have been people in that building, but even if there were people in that building, let's say not everybody evacuated, there was like some homeless guy taking a nap in that building or something. What do you think? He should have stopped from saving the woman because there was someone else in that building? Well, if you stop the building, there's less chances of the people in that building dying, first of all, and there's also now an 100% chance that the woman will survive. What kind of argument is this? Doesn't make any fucking sense.
But this is what people are waiting for. They're waiting for my political rip on this film. So we've been told this is a movie about illegal immigration. Not really. Honestly, like you have to look to find that. There's one line where Clark is saying, "Aren't you going to read me my rights?" James Gunn's politics is so ham-handed, like truly ham-handed, that it doesn't even read as political, it just reads as stupid. So there's a moment where Clark, he's being arrested, and he says, "Aren't you going to read me my rights?" And one of the members of the government says, "Well, you're now considered an enemy alien, or you don't have any rights because you're not an American." All right. If that's supposed to be some sort of like anti-ICE sentiment, it's really weak. Also, legally incredibly stupid, considering that he came to Earth as a baby and then was adopted by an American family, which would make him American.
That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
First of all, that Mexican racist meme did take me by surprise. I'm not gonna lie, I started laughing. I wasn't, it was racist, but it was funny. I wasn't expecting it. Kudos to whoever edited this. That shit was kind of funny. But how come who edited this really hoed Ben here? Because they literally edit in Trump revoking birthright citizenship, and then at the end of a clip of Ben explaining how birthright citizenship is a thing. No, Ben, according to Trump, who you voted for and supported and yada yada, Superman would be an illegal alien because birthright citizenship doesn't exist anymore. And you can't be one even if you're born here. So fuck you. Also, it's not how it works. He's a fucking alien. If an alien came down on Earth and he was adopted by a family and the government found out, do you think they would care? They don't. They would just arrest that motherfucker and put him in jail and experiment on him or something. So shut the fuck up. You're pissing me off. I don't know why I'm even pissed off about this, but I am a little.
There's a great comic book called Superman Red Sun. It's an alternative universe in which Superman's capsule from Krypton lands in Soviet Russia. And he grows up as the emblem of Soviet Russia. And he's evil because he grew up in Soviet Russia. Because if you give that power, that amount of power to an evil ideology, then evil ensues.
Okay, so I know for a fact you didn't read that comic or even watch the movie adaptation. So don't talk about it, okay? Like you know it. But in that comic, Superman does land in Soviet Russia, and he does become kind of a bad guy. But he's not evil. He's not inherently evil for sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure he kills Stalin because he sees that Stalin is a bad guy, and Superman truly believes in it. So no, Superman is not like just an evil guy now because he's a socialist. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's goofy. That's a funny thing to say. things are not as black and white as this guy's a socialist, this guy's a capitalist, so he's evil. Like, things don't work like that. Like, this guy's an American, so he's good. This guy's a Russian, so he's evil. Well, this guy's a Russian and he's good, and this guy's an American and he's evil. Like, who thinks like this?
So this is why it's really important. It's not just truth, justice, and the human way, or truth, justice, and all that good stuff. There's a specific definition of Americanism that says that this is why America, for example, should be a world power, because America is better than other countries. And people who live in accordance with Americanism make the world better if they have more power. That's why America is good. Because otherwise, Superman is bad, and Lex Luthor is right, and we should restrict his power.
What? So I already explained that, no, Superman isn't good because he's American, and America is good. And if he's not American, then he's bad, and he's evil, and America should kill him. Like, what kind of argument is this? No, Superman represents the best of America and the best of humanity. He doesn't represent what America is today, what the American military wants to do, or whatever. He literally just represents what's the best of America. If you take the most best potential of America, of an American, of a human, who would it be? It would be Superman. Somebody who has all these powers, someone who has the ability to take over the world, but chooses not to. Chooses to be a model citizen, chooses to be a superhero, chooses to be a good person, chooses to wear his underwear over his pants because it looks goofy and kids like it, okay? That's what Superman is, and he's the best of America. He's the idealized American, but he's not just America. Like, I don't even understand. Like, this is ridiculous, bro. This is ridiculous.
So what they come away with in kind of the key moment in this movie, for example, is Pa Kent telling Clark that parents don't make missions for their kids, right? They don't make their kids kind of what they are in terms of what they should be. They give kids the tools to choose what they want to be, and then those choices make those kids what they are. Okay, that's kind of half true and half not. Of course, you give your kids the tools to make choices in life, but you also try to define the mission your kid should have in life. That's maybe the most important thing you do as a parent. Direct them in a world of choices at what is the ultimate good, what is the ultimate goal. Hollywood is not run by people who believe that there is such a thing as an ultimate good or an ultimate goal. It's run by moral relativists who have a kind of, at best, soft-pedaled, generic, be nice attitude toward the world, which is why Superman's defense of intervening in this foreign conflict is, people were going to die. Okay, well, people would die on the other side, presumably, if you didn't intervene. Or people die every day in conflicts all over the world. Right? The reason that Clark or Superman is supposed to intervene is because one side is right and one side is wrong. And unless you are willing to simply say that all foreign policy situations in which people die under any circumstances are equivalent, which I don't think is right, then you end up in this kind of weird generic place.
I'm going to give a hot take, and I'm going to say that being kind is actually good. And also, no, there's not. Unless you live in like a feudalist era Japan or England or something, or unless you're marrying your son or daughter since they were born, they get promised to somebody. Like, I don't understand how you can say that you literally plan for what your children are going to do. Like, that's not how it works. No, the movie is right. You give them the tools, and the tools sets them on a path of discovering what they are able to do, what they can do, and doing it. And you can help them as much as you can for them to achieve happiness and also their goal. You can't just make a goal for your child, which, by the way, what do you even mean? There's no objective goal for a human being. We're not robots. We're not categorized just by our usefulness to whatever objective you think there is out there. And your objectivity comes from your morals, and your morals come from your God. But you are Jewish, and that's a funny thing to say out of context. But you have a specific God, the Yahweh, the God of the Jewish Bible, the Old Testament or whatever. But there's like billions of Christians and billions of Muslims and billions of Hindu and billions of Buddhists that have a completely different religion than you. So their objectivity will not be your objectivity. So what do you have to say to them? That doesn't make any sense, which is why you shouldn't base whoever your child should be based on your weird, objective, moral, God-sent thing. You should let your children be the best they can be by giving them the tools to be the best they can be. And don't force them into being a priest or whatever. You know, let them be whatever they can be as long as they can make enough money to survive and provide for their family and make their own family. And have their own children that they can raise to also be the best version of themselves.